What's up, guys? Welcome to Final Buckets. This is a segment I call Hot Take as I debate topics with my associates. To start off the video, the first question was Jokic worthy of the MVP? I'll start. I don't think he was, as Steph Curry, I believe, had a better season overall. Although Jokic probably helped his team as an all-around player better than Curry, Curry scored way better. Jokic had more help around him, and Curry carried his team to the playing games. On the season, Curry had 32 points per game as to Jokic's 26 points.
Alright, so personally, I don't think Steph was able to live up to the hype and earn the MVP award. This year really showcased Jokic's abilities at the center position, especially because he's averaging the numbers he did at a center position, which is very unusual, and shows how much different he is from the other centers. He also put up great numbers with Jamal Murray being out as well.
I also think that Jokic was worthy of the MVP because he's playing at a high level of basketball, also being 7 feet tall and playing like a guard, passing the ball and rebounding it, and creating opportunities for his teammates. This is why I think he was the MVP, and he deserves it.
Next, we will each be predicting the NBA playoffs. To start off, I think the 76ers are going to beat the Hawks to advance to the conference finals. I expect Joel Embiid to have a great game as he was second in MVP voting. I then have the Nets beating the Bucks to advance to play the 76ers next round. Giannis is a great player, but I don't think he will be able to stop the Nets' great team from scoring. Then I think that the Nets' big three will be back together and will beat the 76ers in Game 6 to advance to the finals. Then the Suns will beat the Clippers in Game 7, with Devin Booker having a high-scoring game 1 of the 7 games. KD will walk out with Finals MVP after beating the Suns in 6 games.
To start off with the Eastern side, I believe the Bucks will come out victorious. An injured Nets team who hasn't played well together the last 2 games aren't enough to beat Giannis and his other 2. Also, with the Sixers having to go to Game 7 with the Hawks, I don't think they're going to be able to take down the Bucks' big 3. Now for the Western side, I think, without a doubt, it will be the Suns. Once they get Chris Paul back, they're an extremely great offensive team, and with guys that have a must-win attitude every night. It's hard for me to predict who will win, the Suns or Bucks, but I think the Suns' young team, led by Chris Paul, will win in Game 7.
The 76ers will beat the Hawks in 7, then go on to play the Nets' big 3 when they fall in 6. Then the Suns will beat the Clippers in 6 with Devin Booker and Chris Paul leading the way. And then when the Nets and the Suns meet in the finals, I feel like the Nets will beat the Suns in 6, where KD wins Finals MVP.
Now we will be debating the best player at each position this year. To start, mine is Steph Curry. He's a great all-around player and a great scorer for his team. He helped lead his team to the play-in games and put up great numbers this year.
For point guard for me, I also have to go with Curry. I think the things that he's able to do with the teammates he had was pretty unspeakable, and the stats showed itself.
I also have Steph Curry at point guard because he's playing like an MVP while being surrounded by people who are not really good at basketball.
At shooting guard, I have Bradley Beal. Any other year, I'd probably go with James Harden, but this year, Beal has played more games and has put up 31 points a game, shooting 48%.
At shooting guard, I have James Harden. Now, the reason I picked James Harden is because he affects the game in so many other ways besides his scoring, but his scoring is so dominant that teams have to focus in on the scoring, and that allows him to open up the floor and get rebounds and assists.
I also have James Harden at shooting guard because this season his assists have went up due to having other stars around him. So he is focused on other parts of the game instead of scoring, but he is still dominant on the scoring end.
At small forward, I have Kevin Durant. Although he didn't play as many games as he did in past years, KD still had a great year, putting up great numbers.
For small forward, I have LeBron, and the reason I picked LeBron is because, unlike Kevin Durant, if he has a bad shooting night, he isn't ice cold. If Kevin Durant shoots poorly one night, he doesn't affect the game in a very positive way. Now LeBron, if he shoots poorly one night, is able to affect the game with his assists, leadership, and rebounds.
I have small forward as KD because he has been playing pretty good after coming back from a really tough injury, and he's been dominating the playoffs this series and last series.
For power forward, I have Giannis Antetokounmpo, and I think this one is pretty self-explanatory. He's a two-time MVP, a great defensive player, and a great scorer.
For power forward, I have Giannis as well, and just like Cord said, I think his defense really brings out a lot of them, and he's able to affect the game in lots of ways.
I also have Giannis because he is just a two-time MVP and he's been playing super well, scoring, defending, rebounding, and creating shots for other teammates.
At the center position, I feel like that there is only one pick here, and that is Jokic, and it's because he's the MVP and put up great numbers across the board.
I have to agree. I think Jokic because he's affecting the game in so many ways, and which is unusual by a center. He also draws a ton of eyes to him and allows others to get open shots.
I also have Jokic being the best center this season because he won the MVP and has been dominating on the offensive side.
The next question is, how far will the Warriors go with Klay Thompson back? The Warriors will once again be in the top 5 seeds in their conference if everyone is healthy. Curry proved this year that he can carry a team. James Wiseman is also coming back next year. The Warriors also might have 2 draft picks this year depending on where the Timberwolves land in the lottery. I predict that they will end up being the 3rd seed, and Curry and Klay will be the Splash Bros once again.
I think they're going to be a 3 or 4 seed in the playoffs just because of how dominant the West has become. When the playoffs come around, the Warriors 3, with a couple additions this offseason, could be extremely dangerous. So to answer the question, I think they'll make it to the Western Conference Finals.
I think the Warriors will put themselves back out there with a 4 seed, with Klay in the past dominating, but after an injury, it's hard to come back from this. But if he does what he did in the past, the Splash Bros will cook the West. Also, if the young star James Wiseman comes back healthy, this will help them with the offensive boards, and possibly they'll get 2 more young stars this offseason.
Here are our top 5 players in the next 10 years. At number 5, I have Donovan Mitchell. He led his team to the playoffs in the last 2 years and losing terribly. He is extremely underrated and doesn't have a supporting cast, but puts up great numbers.
At 5, I have Zion. With no postseason success, there's no promise of him being above number 5.
At number 5, I have LaMelo Ball. He's showed promise in the regular season by making insane plays.
At number 4, I have Zion Williamson. He's a good player, but I don't feel that he has lived up to the hype that he was given coming from college yet.
At number 4, I got Jason Tatum. Boy's a bucket getter, but just like Zion, hasn't been able to take the next stage in his career.
At number 4, I have Trae Young. We've seen what he's capable of doing in the first rounds of the playoffs.
At number 3, I have Trae Young. He is a bucket and has played great in this year's playoffs, and I think he will only progress.
At number 3, I got Booker. As of this playoffs, we can see he is able to take his team under his wing, and unlike in the first 2 I've mentioned, he's been great in the postseason thus far.
I also have Devin Booker at 3, which also he's dominating the playoffs so far.
At number 2, I have Jason Tatum. He struggles in the playoffs right now, but I think he will progress and turn into a great player such as LeBron.
At number 2, I got Luka. He affects the game like no other, creating shots for others and scoring the ball, and especially with his supporting cast that's very poor.
I also have Luka at 2. He has been dominating these past couple of years, and in the playoffs just hasn't had the teammates to support him to get him to the next level.
At number 1, I have Luka. He has no supporting cast and still leads his team to the playoffs and puts up great numbers.
At number 1, I got Giannis. Although he'd be 35 years old, I still could see him as being dominant, and he has a great body to keep him healthy.
At number 1, I have Zion Williamson, the most athletic player in the NBA. Just going over everyone, just becoming more dominant each year he plays.